It's not an anthology, but there's 3 flashbacks in it. They're all pretty strange, and the characters, the same characters, like all the way through them. That's why I'm not calling it an anthology. It's like, most anthologies you see the beginning, then there's 3 stories, and you see the people you saw in the beginning at the end, and they're woven all the way through. Yes. Deranged. Oh, it wasn't Deranged. It was Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I went to a costume store and borrowed a medical skeleton, with springs in the fingers, wires in the jaw, and the whole bit, and decorated it. I think it was we were going to put it in the basement or something. And a policeman went to that costume. I gave it, when the movie was over, I gave it back to the costume store. And Halloween, they put it in a coffin in the front window as a display. And a policeman went by the costume store to rent a costume, and he thought it looked pretty real. So they brought the county coroner in. And he said, as far as he's concerned, this is a dead body in the city of Pittsburgh. Closed the shop down and insisted that the woman had to either bury this or cremate it, had a funeral for this thing. So this is a newly elected county coroner that couldn't tell the difference between latex and Rice Krispies and a real rotted flesh. So it was a big embarrassment. And I called the paper and told them that I made this. It's like, check the fingers. There's springs in there and there's wires. It's a medical skeleton. To this day, politically, I don't know how they finagled it, but the shop has closed down. She's moved to Florida, and they still insist that she has to bury this body, or maybe she did. I think it cost her a lot of dough. But only because of the embarrassment it would have caused this newly elected county coroner. Yes. Second about Green Illusions. Yeah, like we said before, when they pay me for the first. Yes, back there.
In the future now, do you want to do more directing, or do you want to stay in special effects like on the Chowder movie that you're going to work on?
Yeah, well, I still have a company that does special effects. I think if a job came by that was just special effects, if the money was good and the story was good, I'd do it. Chris Whaley's directed The Fly. He still does effects. Dan Winston. But personally, I do want to do just more directing.
So you do like having all that responsibility that you were saying? You had to deal with all the snakes.
Well, it's not so much that I like the responsibility. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, but the end result is what you're after, and every little step along the way. It's like you can I think that I can withstand any torture as long as I know how long it's going to last. Like if you tell me you're going to beat me on the head for 5 minutes, I can wait 5 minutes, If I had no choice, Directing a movie, 6 weeks of torture, I can wait, for the end result of editing in my hometown or something. But it's torture. It's real, believe me, it's real torture. Yes, way back there. Pardon me?
Two-part question.
Okay.
I heard you were supposed to work on some original photo films with Dario Argento.
Right.
From actual photo stories.
Yes.
And what happened to Two Evil Eyes in America?
I don't know what happened to Two Evil Eyes. Like I said before, Dario gave me a date. That date came by, and I haven't seen the film anywhere. I see the poster downstairs. I see the video floating around. And as far as directing I was going to direct 2 Edgar Allan Poe stories for Italian television for Dario. One was The Premature Burial, and one was The Tomb of Ligeia. I have the scripts. We were all set to go. Saddam Hussein went crazy. And, we didn't get to do that. I didn't want to travel on any planes at that time. And the money was there was no money suddenly. But, pardon? Oh, I would love it. They flew me over there, and I was having dinner with him on the location of some film he was doing. He said, we're on the top of a volcano. And we looked out, and it was this vast, vast lake. And the lake was in the top of the volcano. I had no idea how huge, a volcano is. You can understand why, Mount St. Helens was such a thing, It's so big. But, and he pretended to dive off the volcano for me in my video, But he's great. I can't wait to work for Dario. But I've heard from them recently, from Claudio, his brother, and now they want me to do 4 episodes. There's 2 directors, 8 episodes. Some directors from England, and me to do 4. And that's something hopefully it's going to pop up. Yeah, thanks. Yes? Yeah. Well, in Dawn of the Dead, those effects that he's talking about, the ripping of the neck and the arm. Well, Dawn was released unrated. Yeah. I don't know whether George thought that that was going to happen from the very beginning or not, but when it finally came out, it was unrated. However, he did put a banner on the poster that nobody under 17 would be admitted. In my film? Oh yeah. They cut stuff that you see in Goodfellas and Total Recall. You see even low-budget videos they cut. But the problem was I was not here in Los Angeles when the MPAA was doing all this stuff, so I couldn't fight for the film. And there was nobody here to fight for the film. There was the editor, but they were driving him crazy. So he just, if you resubmit stuff sometimes, or you leave stuff real long in the film, purposely long. When the MPAA gets it, then you cut it down to where you wanted it, and maybe they're satisfied. But nobody was doing that. And those 20 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds, that were cut, to me they're ballsy 20 seconds. I think it, yeah. Yesterday K&B showed, Optic Nerve showed the uncut stuff from in part of the making of it. And I was hoping to show the whole movie today, but the equipment won't. We can't get the equipment to do it. For the uncut, I wish you could see the uncut first. I wish they would release it on video. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Are there going to be more Dead films? I think there will be. Whether I'm doing them or George is doing them is another question. George says no. I don't know. Who knows? I may be the king of remakes someday. Just do everybody's remakes. Yeah. Am I planning to do a film with George and Dario? No, there's no plans. They just did that Two Evil Eyes thing, which was a monumental success. No. Okay, wake up. Yes, hello. If I had to do a remake, what would the choice be? We talked about this yesterday, The Most Dangerous Game. Updated, because it's got everything. The suspense, the action, the dogs can be monster dogs, the heads, the severed heads on the wall. It can be pretty juicy. I'd like to do that. Or Trapeze, it's still my favorite movie, one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm a sucker for good love stories. Did I get you? Are you talking about? Yes.
He hunts, but he hunts humans. So he's a guy, and that's emotionally just
Real Guts and Day of the Dead? Oh yeah. Yeah, if you've seen Screen Grades, that story is true about the refrigerator being turned off and the guts were spoiling, but we still had to use them to tear Joe Polito in half. The stench was unbelievable. We were putting like old spice on Joe's nose, wax up his nose. Yeah. Well, he was trapped in that floor with that stench. We just ran away when the thing was over. But he was trapped. And I think most of us went away thinking somebody else will take care of Joe. And he might have been there for a long time. Anybody else? What? Oh yes.
How many roaches were in the Creep Show?
How many roaches in Creepshow? 28,000 roaches. Huh? Well, 1,000 of them did get away. No, really. When they dumped 1,000 roaches into this like a funnel to go into the set, I guess they assumed they would go down, but they just came right back on the guy. He just ran screaming, covered in roaches. And then the furniture, the prop furniture, was given to the Salvation Army, and they called and said, "What'd you give them?" It was full of these huge roaches from Trinidad. And the stories the guys told of how they collected those roaches was scarier than any movie I've ever seen. Oh, it was incredible. And I would never do what those guys did in caves in Trinidad, because the roaches live in back shit, okay? And it's deep. It's very deep, and they had to reach down as far as they could. They would dig a hole. They would dig a hole in the back guano, they call it, and then turn the lights off and turn the lights back on. A few minutes later, and it would be filled with roaches. Put them in plastic bags and turn the lights off again. There were so many roaches. They said they could lie on the floor. The roaches would move them around. Yeah, pretty creepy. And the bats in the caves don't use their sonar because they know the cave. So if you're standing in their way, you might get a bat in your face or something. And all they do is put rubber bands on their pants, and take flashlights down. And they got a free vacation in Trinidad. But they brought 18,000 roaches back, and they bred them and wound up with 28,000. They lived in a trailer called the Roach Motel. It was right around the set. I was never in the same room with those roaches, by the way. I did the effects, but I was always behind a plexiglass window, looking through and cueing people. Okay, cue the blood. Now the roaches, thanks. Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. You know, I never was in the same room with them. Somebody over here? Yeah. Trading cards, there was a second set planned, but I don't know. It's Fangoria, and I haven't heard whether they're going to do that or not. And the 62 card, I usually take a huge stack and bring them with me and just toss them out, you know, but I didn't get any in Pittsburgh before I left. They probably still exist. Yes. Yeah. No, I don't think anything was cut. Except there was some effects that didn't work on Stephen King. That they weren't cut. We just didn't bother printing them. You know, they just didn't work. You know. But I think all the road stuff came out. Yeah. I don't know. Creepshow was rated, wasn't it, when it came out? But that was a long time ago. I think we got away with murder, literally more back then. I think all the road stuff, yeah, stayed in there. Yes, right there.
Two things. Is there a chance of an unrated remake of Night of the Living Dead?
I think it's too late. I tried to get George to, we talked about making sure that his contract said that we would release an unrated version. And he thought it was a good idea, but never pursued it, I guess, never tried.
Okay, the other thing, how come on Texas Chainsaw 2 in the Fangoria you were talking about how there was like 40 or 50% of the special effects that you never got into, and it was unrated?
Yeah, it was unrated, so it was silly, right? If you're a producer and you could put, wouldn't you put everything you possibly could in a movie that you know is being released unrated? So what would be the sense of cutting out, like, 40%, 60% of the effects? We couldn't figure it out, but it wasn't Tobe Hooper. It was out of his hands at that point. Was it? I think Cannon did that film, yeah. At some point the same people, actually, 21st Century, it used to be Cannon, produced Night of the Living Dead. And there's a certain point where it goes out of your hands into their hands, and you're just helpless. And it's like you're a makeup artist. You do a makeup for a movie for something, and somebody actually comes in overnight and resculpts it or something. It's akin to that. It's terrifying. It's a big blow to your creative ego. Yeah. I was going to direct Graveyard Shift. The way Graveyard Shift turned out, I don't know what happened, but that wasn't the script that I had. Whew. The script that I had was incredible. It was like a cross between Psycho and Snake Pit and a picture of Dorian Gray. It was wonderful. Now it then became this big alien rat in a movie that is unwatchable as far as I'm concerned. Unfortunately, the guy who produced that is the guy who wants to produce Telltale Tavern, my next film, and I think they've learned their lesson. Well, actually, the director didn't have a lot of preparation time. He had like 1 week, and you got to respect the guy. Anybody who cameramen won't even take a film with less than 3 weeks of preparation to design the film. Here's a guy that went in, and I don't know what problems they had, but anyway, what did you ask me about Graveyard Shift? Yes, I was going to direct it one time. In fact, I had a deal with New World to direct. I had a contract, and the contract was for 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. And New World, of course, went belly up. They had a little financial trouble. But my contract was pay or play, which is a great clause to have in any contract. If they don't do it, you get paid. But it was for 18 months. They had 18 months before they had to pay me. The time that it took to shoot Night of the Living Dead, beginning to end, editing everything, 103 days, had to be added on to that contract. So it was 18 months plus 103 days. On the 103rd day, I was here. I called New World and said, "Time's up, guys." They said, "Come on over." And they paid me for directing Graveyard Shift, which I never did. Pay or play, remember that in your contracts. Yeah. Oh, I never went to school for special effects. I don't think any of us from like 10 years ago we were self-taught. Oh, we learn from each other, Who am I talking to? Can't see your mouth moving. Oh, right there, okay. Hi. Yeah. if you're interested, the best thing you can possibly do is get Dick Smith's correspondence course. When I got it,